talking about relative advantage and preventive innovations. So why would you try and cut down on salt? Why would we discourage people from salting their watermelon, salting their beer? I remember going with my dad, and so you'd be at a tavern, bar, whatever, and he'd salt his beer, and you'd see the salt crystals, float down. It's kind of mesmerizing. It's like, man, I think I want to start drinking. But why might we try and convince someone, put the salt shaker down, reach for the canned soup that's low in sodium? Why might we encourage them to do that? Save the salt? Okay, so in terms of blood pressure, people's blood pressure that's going up, one of the reasons is too much sodium. Okay, and so that can lead to other problems. So if you ask, hey, is it a big deal? You would say, it's a big deal. Blood pressure is. So that blood that's pumping through your heart cause a lesion, cause a blood clot, which I had in 2003. And so we're trying to convince them. But it may be so far in the future that we're like, I want my watermelon, my grapefruit to taste however I want it to. So can you see that it might be hard to get someone to lower their sodium intake? Okay.
I can't salt my tortilla chips before my chips are salted.
Oh my God. We'll sit there and so I'll say, Penn, I'll like hold my hand over like half of them because her side is just drenched. I said, trying to kill me?
Salt a little bit.
Oh my gosh, you got to stop. Oh dear. Yeah, when you put a salty, unsalted. Oh yeah, so if you had like tomato sauce, it's like, you need all that sugar and that salt to make it palatable. But trying to convince somebody, when I go to the doctor and what he says is, Bill, activity now and losing 20 pounds will keep you out of diapers when you're in your 80s. Okay? Now, being in diapers in my 80s doesn't sound really good, but that's a ways away. Okay? But the idea is this thing that you do right now might prevent something later. Okay? And so we talked about maybe an unwanted pregnancy, skin cancer. Anything else come to mind? Seat belts. Anyone ski over the holidays?
Wearing a helmet while skiing.
Wearing a helmet while skiing. If you skied, would you wear a helmet?
I wear a helmet.
Because?
Because I have a good thing like wearing that salt for 100 feet.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna come back to that. People wearing skiing. When I was growing, when I started skiing when I was a teacher, and we were an hour from ski slopes, and I volunteered to be the chaperone to ski club. And so we'd get on a bus at 4 o'clock, we'd drive an hour, we'd ski till 9 o'clock. I never saw a student the whole time. I just made sure they were on the bus again. 9 o'clock and we'd go back, and it was great. But never wore a helmet. Okay? And now if you go to a ski slope, people are wearing helmets, whether they're ski boarding or skiing, everyone's doing it. They're trying to prevent a traumatic brain injury. Riding bicycles might be good to wear a helmet. Okay? Okay? And so if you were to drive around town in the summer, you'll see lots of kids wearing helmets. And I grew up, we didn't wear helmets, not only didn't wear them, didn't have one. They hadn't been invented yet. All-terrain vehicles, four-wheelers. Okay? Once a week, someone will die. They're going too fast. They're drinking while they're driving their four-wheeler. They're on roads and they're going too fast, or they're drinking any combination. And usually, they're not wearing a helmet. Okay, so when we talk about incentives, we'll come back to about making laws against those things. Okay, so lots of preventative innovations. Why it's hard is this thing that it's trying to prevent may be quite a ways in the future. Okay. Now, there was the concept called cue to action. This thing that happens that gets you to adopt possibly a preventative innovation or adopt any innovation, and you would say you wear a helmet because you had this cue to action, which was what?
Was that we had a family friend that fell like 300 feet while skiing, and he ended up being okay, but he didn't wear a helmet, and he would have been able to recover a lot faster if he had.
Okay. And so people hit trees head on, they hit other skiers head on. You're going very fast, and so bad things can happen. And so you had a near miss. Someone that was skiing when you were there was airlifted, and so all those things might encourage you to now wear a helmet skiing. Okay. Any of those other preventative innovations, you'd say, here is the cue to action. This is that thing that forced me to start, stop, whatever it would be.
What would yours be like since you got a blood clot? You don't use so much salt.
Yes, so if you personally have that event, okay, maybe now I'll make some change. Maybe now I'll lose that weight. Maybe now I'll exercise. Okay, so a personal, or as Catherine said, it could be somebody that you know. Okay.
Face masks in baseball, the only players that will wear them are like the shoe guard. The only players that will wear them are ones that have gotten hit and don't want to get hurt again.
Okay, so in baseball, a helmet, and so we've made where you have to wear, so we mandated, okay, so a helmet, and then we have helmets that have this side here, I don't know what they call it. Yeah, that comes here. You've got players that wear maybe a shin guard on this one, so a ball would hit them. So those are all preventive innovations. So we have adopted this thing of protecting the head a lot more. Goalies didn't used to wear these big fancy face masks either. Now they're basically ski or like snowmobile helmets.
Bull riding too.
Bull riders wear them.
Like their vest and stuff, like.
Well, there was a guy in Denver, the bull that killed him this winter. So there may be only so much we can do.
Yeah.
With football players, we're trying to improve helmets, all kinds of things. But certainly, traumatic brain injury is more recognized, and there's crossover, the reinvention to all these other ones. I had a graduate student who was from Clarendon, taught at Clarendon Junior College. Is that kind of up in the Panhandle? Okay. And chewed tobacco all his life, and his sister married a dentist. And he said, I went to go visit them, and on the coffee table was a booklet, and it was photographs of mouth cancer and tongue cancer. And he said, so my brother-in-law is a dentist, and he said he never ever said to me, you need to quit chewing. But he had this booklet out on his coffee table, and he said, I looked at that and went through it, and he said, I quit right then. My cue to action was that this is going to cause mouth cancer, part of my face is going to be removed, I'll lose part of my tongue, I may not be able to speak. And that's what's done in the commercials that have aired recently. They'll have someone who has survived but has had major surgery and said, that cue to action, so it doesn't have to happen to you. It doesn't have to be someone you know. It could even be a photo, or it could be a video, right? And it's what will keep you, either stop you from doing this, okay? And so I don't know if I told the story again before, but my son Nate, who quit smoking now, but his grandfather died the day he was born, and he died of emphysema. So Art Deming, my father-in-law, most of the time I knew him, he was on oxygen. He slept in a recliner because it was the only way he could really breathe for years. It's a terrible disease caused by smoking. And his son, Tim, who was in the Army and then who is a physician's assistant, smoked. And Nate smoked. So Nate's grandfather died of emphysema. Tim's father died of emphysema. He saw him go through all that and still smoked. Okay? And Art's, my mother-in-law, she continued to smoke. And she said one time, she said, there's nothing I like better. And I was like, oh my God, you got a sorry life, man. That there's nothing you like better, but it was the nicotine. But she really liked smoking. But she saw her husband die of it. So even when we say we got this cue to action, all these examples, you say it still may not be enough to get someone to change, right? And so I'd again be 20 pounds lighter if that heart attack got me to change completely. Lost a little bit. Any questions about cue to action or preventative innovations? Is there any effort to try and get people to eat less meat in the United States?
I don't know if there is an effort, but I know people.
You're defining.
My grandfather and stuff. I mean, we produce beef, and when he would go for his yearly checkup, they're like, Jody, you show like a lot of fat content, and you have like some of your stuff, your arteries and stuff aren't as healthy as they should be. Maybe you should cut that. So she's not going to.
How much meat protein should you eat? Do you know?
The size of your palm.
Or a pack of cards, depending on what you do. And so maybe 4 ounces. And so you go to a restaurant and it's like the 16-ounce ribeye, the 20-ounce porterhouse. In Amarillo, the 96-ounce half of a beef, whatever. But even that said, you would go. What you should do is, if you go with a partner and it's an 8-ounce, you should say we should split it. Okay, so getting people to make that change is not easy, but well, it's not easy, particularly when you think it's your livelihood. Okay. Okay. This graphic was relative to a question and may need some interpretation. Innovators, the title is Innovators Have a Shorter Innovation Decision Period Than Laggards. These are the categories of adopters. Innovators are the first to adopt, early adopters then early majority, then late majority, then laggards. And we'll get to that just a little bit later in class. But assuming that everyone adopted, it would start there and would go down here. And what they're trying to show you in this graphic is that the laggards, it takes them longer. They're going to adopt. It just takes them a lot longer to adopt. They have a longer decision-making interval. Okay? So in terms of the cell phone, there were people that bought the phones, they were bag phones, and you plugged it into your car and you left it in your car, and just an emergency would you call. Okay? They were the innovators. And it didn't take them long to adopt. And then there were laggards that they were the last to adopt. It took them a lot longer to be convinced that this is what they should do. Okay? Take any of those innovations we talked about, whether it's sunscreen or less meat or less sodium or less fat. There are people that, I heard the news and I did it. And then there are people, maybe like your grandfather, they may be forced because that's the only thing that's going to be on their plate. Okay, when my dad had heart surgery and was to make changes in his diet, he exercised, but if it wouldn't have been for my mom, I don't think he would have lived 10 years longer because she controlled his diet because he couldn't boil water. And so sometimes these laggards, they're forced to adopt. In this case, it's 2,4-D herbicide. Okay? A herbicide is something that kills plants, okay, herbs, or kills people named Herb, right? We have pesticides, and it kills pests. Insecticides would kill insects. Rodenticides would kill rodents of extremely large size, as in Princess Bride. A nematicide would kill nematodes, of course. Okay, homicide would kill people, Homo sapiens, right? Okay, so miticides, all those. So we get the idea. So in this case, 2,4-D is a herbicide, if you're not familiar with it. And there are different kinds of herbicides. Roundup is a herbicide, and it is non-selective. It kills whatever it touches. That's a good thing to know. Okay, good thing to know. The school I taught, we had the school farm right next to it, and we would sometimes take a pickup truck and go over and do stuff, come back, and we had a cross-country trail that was all around the outside, and the cross-country coach came by one time and said, "You ever have students sit on the back of the pickup truck?" "Yeah, usually some will sit when we come back there." "You ever have any herbicide around when you do?" Well, I guess sometimes. Well, apparently one of the kids was sitting on the back and was playing, and he was doing this all the way back, and so there was this squiggly all the way through, all the way to the school, which didn't happen right away, but after about 2 weeks it showed up. The other is we had a neighboring school where some of the agriculture students went to the neighboring school on their turf and wrote FU in big letters with Roundup herbicide, and that was kind of cool also. Another school, more enterprising ones, they went and did urea, which then it killed the area, but then when it came back lushly, it was three-dimensional. So that was they really got in trouble because they had to resod that whole area. But 2,4-D is a herbicide, okay? It's a selective herbicide. It kills the broadleaves, okay? It kills things like lamb's quarter, pigweed, things that have a broad leaf, soybeans, all broadleaf, okay? And so you might spray that on what kind of crop? Not a broadleaf because it would kill it, right? So it's not a soybean herbicide. Or cotton, which is a broadleaf, that would kill that, or canola. What would be a crop that would not be a broadleaf? Yes, corn or wheat, but corn is a grass, and so I would spray it on and it would kill all the broadleaves. Okay? Bear with me just a second here. I should have had this pulled up and I don't.
This is what the knots look like on the wire. Just individual wires wired together. This particular check
This is
wire
a check row planter.
40 inches
And
each knot.
it uses a wire
You can
and
get wire 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, and 42. Mostly back here.
And every time a wire would go through, it would trigger the planter to drop a couple seeds. It planted the seeds in hills. It would plant 3, 4, maybe more seeds in a hill, and then it would go on and it would drop 3 or 4 more seeds, and it's going to show you a little bit about, he's going to tell you more than you want to know about it. That's what that looks like. It's a roll of wire, and every time one of those knots would go through, this is an old planter that's full of seed, and it would drop that down. Let me see if I can get... Okay, that's what it looks like. So you see 1, 2, 3,
4, 5.
yeah, maybe more.
At least.
A hill of corn.
It's a little thick, but
Yeah, probably too many.
but you can see the rows. We've cultivated them.
Okay, so you see the rows.
We planted them east and west, and I'm looking south right now. So this would have been part of the check. And you'll see in the they would go both ways.
You would cultivate this way.
The field looked really good. Did a good job.
Somebody got off their mark there.
No herbicide.
But then he's going to turn, I think. Or you can look that way. See, the rows go that way also. Okay? Oh, exactly. Oh, you are so way ahead of me.
Take the seed.
Here's the one where the guy's actually planting it. Okay, you'll be able to see on this one. You see if the rows go that way, and they also go that way. Okay, so they're combining or going to pick that corn. Okay, I should have one more video that will. Here, this is. What?
Sorry, was this a new trend in 2013? Because all those videos have been dated.
No. This is a bunch of old farmers that don't know what to do with themselves. They've retired, and what they do is they get together and they show how we used to do it for young whippersnappers. And say, this is how we used to do corn. And so he's going to cultivate it this way. Okay, he's got a shield there to keep from burying the corn. But you look behind and you say, okay, it looks like it works okay. He's going to be able to do 4 rows. Okay, now he's going the other way.
Going across the road.
That's how they plant palm trees now. They grow
Yes,
like that.
yes, exactly. They do pecans that way. Now, does anybody say, I think I know why they did it that way? There were no herbicides. The only way to control weeds was mechanical, okay? Or in the garden, the Armstrong method, okay? But so the great thing about the tractor was that tractor would go this way and would go this way and would go this way, and you went basically all the way around that hill of corn, and you were able to root out all those weeds, okay? But very time consuming, a lot of fuel. Again, we had to go 3 different times. That was just to cultivate the field once. And then you do it several times, so any wonder that you didn't grow thousands of acres of crops. 320 would have been a lot because it takes so much work to do this. So the idea that we could spray chemicals and kill those weeds sounds pretty good. Even having said that, if this is length of decision-making period in years, laggards, it took them almost 5 years after they heard about it to be convinced that they should adopt this innovation. In terms of relative advantage, herbicide, man, it's incredible what it's going to save you, be able to do more acres, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So the innovators were like, man, as soon as I heard about it, I'm done. That cultivator's going in the shed, I'm done. Check row had to go here, 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 okay? And then that was replaced by just drilling corn that was seed, 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 okay? And so you had to buy a different planter, but that was fine. But growing up, so I grew up in the 60s and 70s, we had a neighbor who was elderly, and he still used that check row planter that had these wires that had to be fed in, and he would cultivate this way and this way and this way. He had never adopted herbicides. Okay, and again, this graphic just is to show you that everybody doesn't adopt at the same time, but the difference between those that adopt soon and those that adopt later is they just take a lot longer to be convinced, regardless of the innovation of what it is. Okay, so that's important. And then this graphic, which comes, I think it's the page after in your text, needs maybe a little explanation also. Same thing. We've got these laggards, the last to adopt, the innovators, the early adopters, the early majority, and the late majority. But over here, it talks about percentage of all communication that is interpersonal. Communication can either be interpersonal, me talking to you, or it can be mass media. It's where you find out about stuff. Okay? So the best way to I think exemplify that is if you were going to buy a new car. Okay, let's just say that you had the money and you were going to buy a new car. And let's say you'd never owned a car before and you didn't have any ideas about what to do. Okay, so try and think about that. So I don't know what I should buy. Susie, where would you start? No, you don't know what car to, you have no idea.
Probably go to an online site.
Oh, you would go to an online site. You would go to Edmunds.com or Blue Book or Car Driver Reviews, okay, that are non-biased, that aren't from the company, right? Which would be mass, right? Would anyone say, well, I'd ask my dad, I'd ask my neighbor, I'd ask my brother, okay? How many times have people said, oh, well, yeah, Grandpa had one of those GMCs and it was no good, so I'm not going to, again, a data point of one. One person, and they make millions a year, but that one had to be bad, and he didn't ever put oil in it or whatever. So one possibility would be, I'm going to go to unbiased mass media. The other is, I'm going to go to an interpersonal, somebody that I know. Okay? You're at the university. When you have a term paper to do, you go to the library. Hopefully. It's the big building on the way to the student union. You go and find information. Some people would say, I'm going to go talk to somebody. I have to do a report on chinchillas. Oh, I remember there was somebody had a neighbor that grew chinchillas. I'll call and ask him. When I'm home, I'll go over and visit with him. Right? That would be very personal. Okay, so we got that. The difference between I'm going to mass media for stuff versus I talk to a person. Okay, so what it says is here, if here is the percentage of all communication that is interpersonal, these laggards, wish I was taller sometime. The laggards up here, almost all of their communication is interpersonal. And innovators, a lot less of their communication is personal. The newer ones to adopt are here. Okay? The laggards, one thing that's different about them is they get their information talking to people. Okay? Any thoughts about how that plays out then? How does it happen? If laggards mostly talk to other people, if they only talk to other people, where do innovators get their information? These people, it's not people. So where do they get their information? It shows up in their phone feed. They do a Google search. They read a journal article. Okay. What would be okay? So also in those terms, there is the idea of being a localite or being cosmopolite. Okay, so that was a vocabulary word. Cosmopolite means being worldly. Okay? There is a magazine out for women that are worldly. Okay? Cosmopoliteness magazine. Right? You've heard of it? Newsstand? Cosmopoliteness. It's also a drink, I think.
Yeah?
You pronounce it cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
Oh, fine. Okay.
That's what the magazine's called.
Yes, yeah. Maybe everyone's pronouncing it wrong for a long time. But if you are cosmopolitan, what the magazine is, it's for worldly women, right? It's for women that see things bigger. Okay. If you're a localite, you are more interested in what goes on locally. Okay. So let's talk about where people get their information. What would be an example of a newspaper, Katie, that would be cosmopolitan? If I'm a cosmopolitan person and I read the newspaper.
The New York Times.
Oh, yes, the New York Times. Yes, thank you very much. Localite, I read the newspaper, but I'm just interested in what goes on around me. It would be the Stillwater News Press, the Stillwater News Mess, the Perkins Journal, the Ingles Tribune, the one that's in your neighborhood that maybe gets published once a week, okay? And usually the police blotters, what's most important to everyone that's in there. So-and-so got married, so-and-so got divorced, so-and-so got divorced and got married, so, babies were born, right? It's nothing worldly. They barely get out of the county with the information. So that's one example. Does it happen also in television? Okay, so tell me of a television program or a network possibly that someone that's cosmopolitan would watch. CNN would be to a certain extent. Anybody go a little broader? BBC America? Depending on what cable you get or satellite, you may get some international channels. You could even broader. Okay, I don't know if we still have it, but we used to have TV 31 was the Stillwater channel, and one of the things they used to do is they had Marketplace, and basically it would be, okay, we've got these 3 pieces of paper here. Call in now in the next 30 minutes with your bid. And it looks like someone's bid 12 cents. Okay, if you don't, anyway, that was the best thing that was on it. But it also would have they would broadcast Little League games, which are really cool when your kids play and you can watch them on TV. Yes, yeah, that'd be. I don't know. Radio. National Public Radio. Versus what Penny listens to, which is AM country out of Oklahoma City, and they have lots of really important news on there, like they call people up that went on a date the night before, and
Every morning.
okay, that would be localite. Cosmopolitan would be on National Public Radio. I'm interested in what's going on in those terms. Magazines. Are there magazines that are more cosmopolitan, more worldly, magazines that are more localite?
Our
Yes.
school magazine, I can't. Cowboy Journal.
Might have something about just agriculture, maybe just in Oklahoma. Okay. What about shopping? What would it be like if you were a cosmopolitan shopper?
You could probably go to Paris yourself.
No, you don't have to. But you might buy something from Paris, and how would you do that? Online. The internet has just opened it up completely for us, right? Anything's available. Where it used to be, whatever's at the grocery store at your town is what you're getting for Valentine's Day, right? Okay. Now, let me go back to the mass media or interpersonal. We talked about buying a car. I want to learn to speak French. What do? I want to learn to speak French. Oh, okay, please. So I take a class. Maybe I need this. I learned. Rosetta Stone. Okay. Babbel. There are several. That would be mass media. Interpersonal, I'm going to take a class, or I'm going to get Catherine, a good friend, Maria, and Maria speaks like 5 languages. Yeah, different. My daughter, Catherine, and they had foreign exchange students live with them because Maria was interested in languages, and then Maria went and was a foreign exchange student because she was always interested in languages. That's very interpersonal. I want this connection. Okay, I'm going to go spend time in a Mexican restaurant so I can learn Spanish, conversational Spanish. So,
Like if you went study abroad to a foreign country.
Interpersonal.
Okay.
Now, if before you went you got Rosetta Stone, that'd be mass media. Okay. I'm going to buy a bottle of wine. I don't know what to buy. I guess it's Bada Box. I guess that's what I'm going to buy, right? What would I do if I'm going to buy a bottle of wine and I don't know what to do?
There's like online wine stores.
I go and I do a review. I find out what they say. What would interpersonal look like?
Asking a friend.
Ask a friend, or you go to the liquor store and you say, "Hey, give me some recommendations about what to." And usually that's a pretty good one. Okay.
Or the wine tasting.
But take a wine testing class. Yes. Fix a tire. Besides calling Dad, which is what have my family. Yeah, I know. Let's say I wanted to learn to fix a tire.
You can YouTube about anything now.
You can YouTube just about anything, and I would say your generation, the go-to is YouTube because it.
Probably find it your exact color too.
Yes, it'll show. Oh, okay. So you can.
Okay, now I'm tired of changing my tail light went out, and so just Googled how to pull open the back of my car so I can change it.
So go ahead.
If you go to AutoZone, they do it for free.
Okay, what is
What
that?
if it's,
Stop. What is that? Is that mass media or is that interpersonal?
I know it's in person.
Going to the place and they're going to do it for you?
Well, it's a company thing.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if that happens to be a company thing. It would, if you knew there was some place where you could go and they'll do it for you. That's much better than, right? In your mind, isn't that a lot better than going and finding out how to do it yourself if somebody else will do it for you?
And be nice to know how to do it myself. But
No, it wouldn't. Not when somebody will do it for you. You just made that point.
for free. No, but it's nice if you guys do it. Like, I didn't want to mess up my car, and my dad would yell at me if I messed up.
Yeah. What if I do it wrong? Even following.
Oh, actually, not.
So we're going down the road one time in my truck, and it's got the windows. And Penny said, "Hey, my window won't go down." And I'm like, "You just need to press it hard. Press it." And so I pressed it, and the buttons went through. And so the windows are like halfway down. I'm like, crap. What do I do? And so went online, found a YouTube video. It says you pull this clip out, you order one. Like 2 days later, it was there. I did it and fixed it. And I don't know what it would have cost if I had interpersonal, if I had someone that wouldn't do it for free. Ford dealers would have cost hundreds of dollars, and this was like $12 to do it. Okay, but I want to learn how to fix a tire. I could go on YouTube and they would show me how, or what would be interpersonal. What's this mean? Oh. I'll try and be more exciting. What would interpersonal look like?
Like helping your dad do it, like
You would show me. Somebody show me how to do it, and then I'll know. Okay. Sheeta Henneberry was on the 5th floor. Her son JD was in Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts with Nate. And one time we did Cub Scouts, and it was your kids are going to learn different things. They went cooking. They made hot bagels in my house, and they learned how to change a tire. And Sheeta wanted to get in there, and she wanted to learn how to change a tire also. Discipline a child. You could read a book about it, and that would be interpersonal or mass. Ask your parents how hard do I hit them? What? How hard did you hit me?
That's also related. So he said that laggards are the ones that aren't doing it right?
No. They are the last to adopt.
But they do things in this personal way. But don't you think that reading a book over disciplining a child, wouldn't you rather talk to somebody that's done before? I'm so confused.
It's not bad. No, being a later adopter is not bad. It's maybe they just thought about it a lot longer. Okay? I was thinking about using cocaine. I really been thinking about it a lot. I really think it would be good if I used cocaine. And then I thought about it long enough that I decided maybe I don't want to use cocaine. Bypass that sucker, right? So no, being a laggard is not bad. There are lots of innovations, again, like those of you that are wearing caps, they over-adopted. And those of you that aren't, you're like, oh, I never adopted that bad practice.
But the word laggard doesn't have a negative connotation.
Kind of does, doesn't it?
It does, because yesterday in class, Lauren called somebody a laggard in addition to that.
Now again, as if every innovation is good. Oh no. Some maybe we're better off not ever adopting. And back on the herbicide thing, there are lots of people say we over-adopted chemicals, and we need to be using less chemicals.
Doesn't it talk about, in the book too, when it talks about the herbicides, the lagger in that situation, he didn't adopt it, but then the EPA came out and the USDA and started backpacking, and there was a lot of regulations. So in that sense, the lagger wasn't wrong, it wasn't bad.
No, if you wait long enough, you may find that whatever. Now you could say that seatbelt that I never adopted, I won that battle because when I died, it'd take me off the roster of adopters. So no, not every innovation is good that someone adopts. We have this pro-innovation bias that we've already talked about. The change agencies, they assume it's good. Maybe it wasn't good. Okay, wearing a helmet when you're riding a bicycle, good. Okay, wearing a helmet when you're skiing, probably good. Stopping chewing tobacco, probably good. Okay? Stopping drinking alcohol until you black out, that'd be a good thing to not do anymore. Okay? So there are lots of innovations that we're pushing we want people to adopt. Buying ostriches and emus and ratites, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. And maybe we were better off not being the innovator. Okay, so excellent point. But anything more about discipline a child, I need to talk to somebody. I'm going to talk to my friends who have kids, and I'll say, wait, we could put potty training on there. Okay, wait, one of the worst things ever in your life, or it happened and you didn't even know it happened? Not you personally, Jenna Ray.
For what?
Potty training.
Was it not? He's asking, was it hard for you, or was it really easy?
It was hard.
Yeah. And so something like that, I remember, again, neighbors that were in HS and child development, and Nate was smaller then, and we said, oh, we're doing potty training. They said, when he wants to, he'll do it. If you try and force it, you're just going to fight it. And we just kind of backed off. And then when he was like 10, he didn't. No, but it was 3. I swear it was 3. Okay.
Last one, get a child to go to sleep. I see a lot of this for like with the mass media or into social media. A lot of people with the crazy moms or I need to get at my sister knows it. She'll be like, where's the most like best orthopedic surgeon or something? And like, or how do I get my kid to go to sleep? What's the best? Google it. Like, don't ask, but like she's like putting down there on social media that her child doesn't sleep.
But gosh, there's so many different possibilities.
My kid was having allergies.
Oh,
Okay,
sure.
maybe that's not true, but
You do live in an age where there's so much information, and maybe it's while you're reading that, maybe the child goes to sleep because you're.
Would that be interpersonal mass media?
Well, the interpersonal, you think you need to go to someone. It's a personal connection. That's who you trust. You can't trust the internet. They would say you can't trust the internet.
It's a Facebook. I know if I'm posting and you comment, I know you. So is that interpersonal or?
That's interesting because you have people that you have. We're going to talk about this later, but weak ties or strong ties. You have people you kind of know, and they might post, or you might have a real strong family member. My suggestion, if it's a real close family member, I'm calling you, and I'm not looking to see what you post on
So
it.
that's not really interesting.
Most of the Facebook pages like that, they don't know each other. It's just a huge group of women.
Yeah, or people. Yeah.
And like all the like local moms are commenting like.
Yeah.
And just because it's posted, some people think it must be right because they posted that. And so Katie, back to the idea of withholding vaccinations. An innovator, you would say, would be people that are withholding vaccinations from their children, right? And so, well, if you're a laggard with that, you might be okay where you say, oh, I don't know, maybe I'm not ready to withhold vaccinations for my child. I'll wait and see if, 70% of the grade school maybe dies and my kid's okay. Maybe then I'll, kind of wait and see. So there's some value, certainly there's some value in being cautious on some of these things.
Someone that doesn't use the vaccination is more innovative than someone who does.
Well, it's that's where we are now. That's where we are now with those that are saying, hey, I don't want to. They would think themselves being innovative. Yeah. Oh. Well, there's a kid that's making a lot of airwaves because when he got old enough, said, I'm going to get vaccinated. Yeah. And he's been on a lot of news programs, and they want to talk about that. We want to talk about try not to talk to your backs. Talk about incentives, because and let's see what some of you did. And I'm going to assume if you post it at your Dropbox, you don't mind us looking at it. So if Okay, Chelsea's playing softball, so let's look at hers. I think. Can I download? Do what? Here? Oh, here it is.
Didn't get vaccinated, but colleges require immunization.
There's I'll do a spotlight on it. I took a boy that my boyfriend was with, and he never got it. But he got away with it which is not, he's just deadly afraid.
Okay, let's look at Chelsea's. Let's look at what Chelsea put for sunscreen. So she wanted to. The relative advantage was if you're a baseball player, you would reduce sunburn, skin cancer, premature aging, and protection from UV rays, and it doesn't cost much. So anybody say anything else on relative advantage that they thought it's worth mentioning? Result, man, those sound really good, but they are preventative, right? And those are things that are going to happen later. You get sunburn today, you'll be fine in a few days. It's when you had it 30 years ago that's the problem. Okay, is the use of sunscreen compatible with being a baseball player? She says yes. It's easy to apply. You can find it at any store. It's easy to carry in your bat bag. And since she's a softball player, she has some credibility. But anyone say, I'm not sure it's compatible with playing baseball?
I feel like some guys would complain about like the sweat or it irritating their eyes or like the uncomfortableness. Like some people just hate the smell and they hate the feeling, and that's why they don't wear it.
There are a lot of reasons why they might not. Anybody else where you think it's compatible with being? If we change that and said Little League baseball player, would it change any?
Are their parents going to put it on?
Are the parents going to put it on? Can they put it on themselves? Will they put it on right? I think what you'd like to do is you'd like the boys or girls, save that, didn't I? To be able to put it on themselves so you aren't responsible. They can do it without the parent, right? You want again go to the bathroom by themselves. Let's also put on your own sunscreen, and will they do it right? The one that's purple and turns like clear when you put it on helps when it rub it in. But would anybody say putting on sunscreen is akin to putting on makeup?
No.
Does any 8-year-old boy say, I am not putting on sunscreen because I don't wear eyeliner and pancake makeup like my older sister does? Is that possible? Or absolutely not? That doesn't enter into their thought at all.
I can see that in a young enough kid, but I also know I was talking to a dermatologist and she's like, would you wear sunscreen? And I was like, yeah, I have my makeup. And she's like, that's not even gonna do
It's not enough.
And I was like, okay, you could have said that a little bit more polite, but that's fine.
You're kind of sensitive though.
I mean, I wasn't sensitive, but it was just like very blunt.
Yeah, it sounds like you're still a little bit kind of bitter about it.
I think most parents start at a very young age, so I think when they get to the age of like 10,
Yes,
they don't know any different. They just
I think that's an excellent point, that we've done it for so long, and this is what you do. Again, if the bicycle helmet is something you always do, if I'm going to get on the bicycle, I put the helmet on. So if I can get it young enough.
So I would see it as like a new invention.
Okay.
Just like,
Then let me ask, let's say it was construction workers. We're trying to get construction workers to wear sunscreen. And they haven't worn sunscreen before. Might be hard if it's like makeup. If they identify it as being makeup. I can't think of the guy's name, but this big burly guy weighed 300 pounds. He was like 6'4", and he did shotgun training for the Department of Wildlife. And his wife was a Mary Kay salesman. And another guy he worked with was about the same size, big beard, always wore plaid. And his wife was also a Mary Kay salesman, and they'd see each other like a couple times a week. And he said, quite often, one would bring the other, you'd have a little, I don't know what color Mary Kay stuff is, and he'd say, do you have like a couple tubes of number 6 eyeliner that I can borrow? And he'd say, oh no, I don't have that, but I've got this, whatever. And so they were always, anyway, and they kind of made fun of it. But wearing makeup for some men, or the thought that I might be wearing makeup, might be a barrier. So compatibility is, does it fit with how things work? Now let's talk about complexity. How complex is it? She says not complex at all. You just rub it in your skin. Anybody have anything to say about that?
Right. I was going to say, it's the one that might be complex. We can't get the bottle open, or you don't know.
Yeah, or how do I get the back of my neck, and how do I cover it to make sure? So it's not perfect. Trialable, is it trialable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See, but and I kind of put the increase the use of sunscreen is just using it more often.
Getting people to wear it more often. So it's like, I'm going to be in the beach all day, I wear it, but do I wear it when I'm going to watch a baseball game or doing something else?
Yeah.
So that's a good point. So, but it is trialable. I can try it. Now, trying it won't prevent skin cancer, but at least I could try it. And observability, is it observable? Now, she says yes, you can see whether your skin is burned at the end of the game or not, or you can watch a friend's skin burn, watch someone and they didn't get burned. Any thoughts on that?
Some of the other things take longer to see, like the premature aging.
Oh, the burning happens right away. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Let's ask then about what incentives. What incentives could you offer? And I guess maybe if you're the parent, what incentive, or if you're the coach, or either a construction worker or the doctor, whatever, what incentive might a change agent offer to get people to adopt this innovation?
Showing them somebody that has skin cancer, or like giving them examples what that looks like after.
Oh, okay. The sharing with what skin cancer looks like when they cut off part of your nose. Okay, that's a good.
I mean, if someone's been burned before, then
So everyone's had a sunburn. We could stop this from happening. Okay, Catherine.
I have 2 points. So like if you were the coach, you could like monitor it and be like, if you don't wear sunscreen, you can't play. Like
Oh.
you can't get out on the field. But also there would be like an anti-incentive, kind of like what Savannah was saying with the Great Barrier Reef. Like if you saw that sunscreen was killing everything or destructing the reef, you might decide not to use sunscreen because the new sunscreen is either too expensive or it's whatever.
Well, let's talk about that. And how do we get people not to wear a certain kind of sunscreen if they're going to be swimming in the Great Barrier Reef or Key West or something?
Provide the sunscreen there like a tiny tube of it.
Here it is. This is the only sunscreen you can use, and I'm going to give it away. Yes.
So my friend, she literally just arrived from Australia yesterday. It's like they're going to the Great Barrier Reef, and they're supposed to, like, she's supposed to buy sunscreen, but they're supposed to like provide her with a little tube as well.
A sample.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like it's kind of like a marketing thing. And I mean, she'll come back to America, and so and like work. She lives in a house with 7 girls, like the owners of it. So it's like people are gonna find out about it, and I think that's a way for it to.
The kind of spreads. The other possibility is we outlaw this sunscreen that's bad, right?
Or you don't sell it in Australia.
Yeah, you don't sell in Australia, period.
Right.
And if you're coming from America, that's one thing you're not allowed to have.
Okay.
It's like that when we came in,
Really?
yeah. Before you get on the boat, they tell everybody that you can't have a certain sunscreen, and they charge you like double what your tube is. It's like you have to buy their, yeah. So they get you using other pot, they'll buy you and stuff.
Okay. So let's talk about some other things that we might want to get preventive innovations. You mentioned acute action as far as bad things happening, but motorcycles. How do we get people to wear a helmet when they ride a motorcycle? One thing is we can punish you if you don't do what we want, right? Now, what is your thought? Does that work? Or is there a certain segment of the population that says, if you're going to make me do it, I'm going to... I don't know how many of you, your boyfriend or girlfriend, mom and dad didn't like, and man, you loved them even more when they told you to stay away from them. Demi, don't, no, I don't want to...
All of it.
No, all of them. But there is a certain segment of the population, right, that does that. What about wearing a seatbelt? What have we done? We've made it a law that you have to, and no, because we want to convince you that you should do it, but we don't want to send people to prison for not doing it, because if they're in an accident, and it will just save us some money. My mother-in-law had a blouse that had a black stripe like this across, so it looked like she's wearing a seatbelt, because she didn't like it. It was kind of uncomfortable for her. And anyway, the MIC does all kinds of crazy things.
They also put in like my car, if you don't buckle, it dings at you. And even like if my passenger, like if it spins like the airbag like on, it'll like ding into it.
And you know there are people that like they pulled it and they like sat on it or whatever, so it wouldn't ding.
My boyfriend buckles his like it.
Okay, yeah.
Mine won't shut off.
My question
Even when you buckle it?
My question is, if you take the time to do that, like if you take the time to put it behind you and buckle, why not just put it in front of you?
Well, I think the explanation for that is you're not going to be able to get 100%. You're going to. Yeah. Okay. So people that don't want you bad enough will find a way. Now, what you'd like to do, again, it's like wearing the caps in class. How do you get everyone to decide that themselves rather than somebody else? You know, how do you get people to internalize the seatbelt thing, okay, or the helmet thing, or the sunscreen thing, or the condom thing, or whatever it is that you want to put in there, or, you know, and so the punishment thing only does so much, okay, and then so let's talk about smoking. We would like people to not smoke as much, or we would not like them to smoke at all. Okay, how do we do that? Okay, you can't smoke everywhere. That was a part. Okay.
They like put like more like regulations.
Tax, and who decides that? Who represent us? Okay, and then who pays the tax? The people that smoke. Okay, you could say alcohol, the same thing. We will tax it to try and keep you from drinking mass quantities. Susie?
I was just going to say, in Virginia, it's like the tobacco state, there's a law that if it's like, they will only increase the taxes on tobacco if federally they're mandated to, and then they have 2 years to up the prices after the federal.
Okay, so they're sensitive to a portion of their population that may smoke, and that we're not going to gouge them too much. Yes?
In South America, the pack of cigarettes, they put like these really scary images on them. Like, I don't know, like my stepmom, she brought a pack back like to show us. And they like all this like information and like these really like terrifying facts. And like on the other side, it's really creepy and it's a little goblin.
Well, on the side panel it says Surgeon General says that smoking while you're pregnant has problems, and there's that argument. And again, the MIC, when talking about this and this conversation about smoking and drinking while you're pregnant is a problem, and Mick says, "Oh, I smoke and drank with all you kids." And my brother-in-law Rob, if you've heard the story, I'm sorry, but he said, "Mom, I could have gone to medical school. You cost me like 6 ACT points if you hadn't been smoking and drinking." But Tammy?
In Ohio, they just passed a law it's illegal to be driving and smoking with kids in the car.
Okay. So all these things that we want, these changes we want to bring about, one way is that we will punish the people if they do it. And unfortunately, lots of people see that as is the people that are most vulnerable who don't have an extra $200, we're going to soak them for $200. And the things that people that are rich are doing that we'd want them to stop, we just kind of say, "Oh, please don't do that anymore." Okay? So there is some concern about that, but just take whatever it is that you want people to do, okay? And if we want them to stop doing it, we will try and hit it with money. Okay? Let me ask you this. College is expensive? Yes? Okay. Do you think it's going to get cheaper in the future? Okay, you see it probably will continue to increase. Okay? And so There is also a sentiment that taxes are too high. Is that fair? And most people don't want their taxes to increase. Okay, so putting these things together. Now, envision that you will have children someday, and they may want to go to college, or you may want them to go to college. Okay, still with me? How will they pay for it? How?
Start saving as soon as we're born.
Who?
Like, so my cousin just had a baby like a year ago.
Yes.
And for her birthday, they said, like, she has a ton of toys and a ton of clothes. Like, if you want to get her something, money, and they started an account to put back money when she's like a year old. For like college and stuff, because like my parents did that with me with like my cat when I sell them, like it just went straight to my college.
Don't wait till they're 10.
Yeah.
Start right
My
now.
mom said she would have started it earlier.
Yes. So at birth. So try and convince parents. I'm coming to you. Try and convince parents at birth. Just assume your kids are going to college and start saving. I started later than I should have, but it's tough and it's going to be tough. But let's try and convince parents that they should do that. Katie,
I have a philosophy.
you're pretty philosophical lately. So I'm ready.
I am. I'm not ready for your response, but I'm telling you anyway. So, I always talk about this to my mom. I moved from Ohio to Oklahoma, right? I have all these friends that have Native American blood in them, and they have scholarships. If I marry someone that's Native American, their kids will get scholarships. This is not a joke. This is real life.
I want you to look for a partner. And if they are Native American, that'll be a plus. But I want you to look for a partner, someone that you're going to, partner with, okay? That you don't have to take care of, that doesn't have to take care of you, that you're a team. And then again, if he or she is Native American, then that'll just be an absolute plus. And if their tribe has scholarship money, that'll really be good.
Dating advice from the one and
I just think about the benefits. My sister got a job. We looked at the benefits. You got a relationship? I'm not saying.
Valentine's Day, right?
So
Okay.
Gerber has a new program that you can.
Sure isn't life insurance?
Well, they have.
Sure it isn't life insurance?
What do you mean?
We'll pay your burial expenses if your child dies. Sure isn't that what it is?
No, Gerber has a program. If you when you have a baby, you can put grandparents start them all the time and put $50 in them, and then Gerber has a thing where they'll keep it safe for them until they're in college. So
Right. But yeah.
But they have to.
Okay.
There's something really similar in Europe. It's called the Texas Tomorrow Fund.
Here we go.
And my grandparents, when I was the day before,
Yes.
they started it. But when they got their paychecks, they just went in there. They did it for my little cousin too. And so when I came over to school, I had that, and it was just sitting there, and we couldn't touch it. So even if a family crisis came up, I still got to go to college.
Okay. Now let's say I'm in Oklahoma and I'm really serious about this. I'm really serious.
It goes to the border states. Texas Tomorrow Fund.
Just forget that happened in Texas. In Oklahoma, and I'm really serious. How could I get you, grandparents, parents, to do this, to start this fund?
Well, if the parents didn't go to college, they wasn't going to go to.
You just want to give me reasons why we can't. I want to know what you could do, what incentives. Kylie?
Say if you put this much in.
That's not incentive. That's not incentive. Got an incentive?
Yeah. So my grandparents are paying for my college because they can write it off of their taxes because they're gifting me.
Okay, so make a tax break if you do
so
it.
they give me the money to pay for it.
Got it.
and break all that.
Got it, Levi?
What if they match the same social rate?
What do you think of that? Dollar to dollar match. Oh, now I didn't say private company. I'm saying the state. Now the company, that's a perk. Again, meet a person that has a job at this company that matches. Again, check it all out. Get all their benefits. I call that when Penny and I we had a very short. We just dated for a short time, but I called it full disclosure. Said you need to know what's going on here. And so just laid everything out. And so you want full disclosure. What kind of benefits are you bringing to this union, right? But Levi said, what if they match? And so the company does what they want, but the state is us. We're taxpayers. What do you think about that as a taxpayer that we would match up until whatever dollar you think? We will match your contributions to college.
As long as they stay in state, I can do like scholarship, or like the Pell Grant, they do like the Pell Grant.
As long as what?
Like they stay in state, like.
Oh, only if you go in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to restrict it? All right.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, because like coming from Ohio and coming to Oklahoma, there's not very many scholarships out there for out-of-state kids. So I know like Ohio, in Ohio, there have been more scholarships.
All right.
I think for me, like I come from Maryland, and like one of the reasons I came to Oklahoma was because I was able to get the academic common market.
Yeah.
So that was like an incentive for me to come here to Oklahoma. So that was something.
I want to know what incentive you can give parents to start saving, because we're not going to have money. We're not, this scholarship stuff, good luck.
Couldn't you like say you're saving and like your kid has to take care of you for like years, kind of that type
That's so good. It's like that little book, I'll Love You Forever. You know?
Same thing, not
It's
different.
so relatable. You
Hey.
target it from that standpoint.
I have another philosophy. Okay, listen, this is a good one.
They all are.
So, are we talking about going to school in Oklahoma at OSU? Does it have to be OSU? Or can it just be any?
All we want to do is we want parents to start saving, or grandparents, for college, because there's not going to be this money. You already told me that it's going to keep getting more expensive. So the only thing we can do is we can start putting the responsibility on the family and say, you got to start saving. So I'm asking, what incentives? And Levi said, hey, let's match some of their money, okay? And now I want to know whether you're okay with your tax dollars going towards that. And you could argue and say, well, either my tax dollars go to the school anyway, or they go to the person, and then the person spends it on tuition. But that would be fundamental change, because this is very unusual that you're saying that the family is going to say, we're going to start saving for college right now. And your generation might be different with that. But we can't wait till you're 16 and then start saying, okay, I'm going to put some egg money aside. Or if you watch Caddyshack, I mean, that was what Danny Noonan kept his caddy money was for college. Best movie ever made. Cinderella story. Okay, on Tuesday. So that's the big stuff. Preventative innovations, cue to action, localites, being cosmopolite and reading the magazine, Cosmopoliteness magazine.
Yeah,
That's the one. Okay. On Tuesday, we'll kind of review, and I'll give you a layout for the exam. And we've got your worksheets if you want them. You don't have to, but if you want worksheets, you got them in alphabetical order. Okay, you can come down and get those from Cam and Grace.